You think you've finally met someone different. They seem kind, attentive, and emotionally available. You convince yourself this time will be different. But then, patterns emerge. The same emotional unavailability. The same manipulation. The same slow fade or the sudden abandonment. And you're left wondering, again, how you ended up in the same emotional space, with a different person wearing a different face. It doesn't make sense at first. You try to date smarter. You raise your standards. You promise yourself not to ignore red flags. But still, somehow, you attract the same type of person over and over. And it leaves you questioning everything, your judgment, your worth, and your ability to truly connect. The truth is, you're not alone in this. So many people silently suffer through this cycle, believing it's their fault or just bad luck. But this isn't about luck. It's about patterns, deep, invisible ones rooted in psychology, shaped by your past, and powered by beliefs you may not even realize you carry. And the good news? Patterns can be broken. But only once you see them for what they really are. Let's talk about why this happens. Why we keep attracting people who hurt us. Why familiar pain feels safer than unfamiliar peace. Why we crave what we know, even when what we know is destroying us. It starts earlier than most of us realize. From the moment we're born, we begin learning what love feels like. Not just love in words, but in tone, in touch, in how our needs were responded to, or not. These early experiences create a blueprint. A relationship template that our subconscious uses to judge what feels like home. For some of us, home meant warmth, consistency, safety. For others, it meant unpredictability, silence, criticism, or even emotional neglect. If love came with conditions, like being perfect, quiet, pleasing, or invisible, we internalized those conditions as normal. We carry that template into adulthood. And here's the hard part. We're drawn to what's familiar, not what's healthy. Our nervous system is wired for survival, not happiness. It recognizes emotional patterns from our childhood and pulls us toward them, not because they're good, but because they're known. Because we've survived them before. So when you meet someone who feels like home, your body responds. Your heart races. Your stomach flips. You think it's chemistry, destiny, magic. But sometimes, what feels like fireworks is actually your trauma being reignited. Let's be clear. This doesn't mean you're broken or to blame. It just means that your unhealed experiences are still playing a role in your present relationships. Think back to your earliest caregivers. Were they emotionally available? Did they respond to your feelings? Or were you left alone with your pain, learning to self-soothe or shut down? If you had to earn love by being good or hiding your needs, you might now attract partners who expect the same. If love meant walking on eggshells, you might now chase after people who are hot and cold, giving and withholding, just like those early figures. This is how the cycle begins. Not because you're choosing it consciously, but because the version of love you learned is being reenacted. Over and over. With different people, but the same emotional outcome. And that leads us to another key concept: repetition compulsion. It's a psychological phenomenon where we unconsciously repeat old emotional wounds in an attempt to finally heal them. We're drawn to people who mirror the pain of our past, hoping this time we'll get a different result. Maybe you had a parent who was emotionally unavailable. So now, you're magnetized to emotionally unavailable partners, not because you enjoy the rejection, but because some part of you believes that if you can get them to love you, it will finally prove that you're worthy. But this never works. Because healing doesn't happen through reenactment. It happens through recognition. Through choosing something different, even when it feels unfamiliar or uncomfortable. See, the people we attract don't just reflect who we are. They reflect how we feel about ourselves. If deep down you believe you're not enough, you'll unconsciously choose people who confirm that belief. If you fear abandonment, you'll cling to people who are inconsistent. If you crave validation, you'll fall for those who withhold it. And this goes both ways. The type of energy we project is the type of energy we attract. If you're used to overgiving, you'll draw in takers. If you have no boundaries, you'll attract people who exploit that. If you fear intimacy but crave connection, you'll find partners who are emotionally distant, because they mirror your own internal tug of war. This doesn't mean you deserve mistreatment. It means the most important relationship you'll ever heal is the one you have with yourself. Breaking the cycle starts with awareness. Ask yourself, why do I feel drawn to this person? What emotional pattern are they recreating? Do I feel seen, safe, and respected, or am I chasing approval? Do I like how I feel around them, or do I just like how they distract me from my loneliness? Because here's a truth most people miss. Not every spark is a sign of connection. Sometimes it's a warning. A red flag wrapped in chemistry. A familiar pain dressed as passion. You might think you're choosing love, but you're actually choosing familiarity. And familiarity isn't always your friend. Let's go deeper. Think about your internal beliefs. The thoughts that sit quietly underneath the surface of your conscious mind. You may not hear them out loud, but they're there, guiding your actions and shaping your experiences. Beliefs like, I'm too much. If I speak up, they'll leave. I always have to prove my worth. I'll never find someone who truly sees me. This is as good as it gets. These aren't facts. They're old scripts. And unless they're challenged, they quietly steer your life. You might find yourself in relationship after relationship where your needs don't matter, because deep down, you've convinced yourself they shouldn't. You might attract people who ignore your boundaries, because you've never truly enforced them. You might be drawn to partners who never choose you, because you've been conditioned to believe you're not worth choosing. It's hard to admit this. It's painful to realize that some of our deepest heartbreaks weren't just random. They were connected to what we believed about ourselves. But this truth is also powerful. Because what's learned can be unlearned. What's repeated can be rewired. One of the most important steps in breaking this cycle is learning to sit with discomfort. Here's what I mean. When you've been used to emotional chaos, peace can feel boring. When you've always been the chaser, being pursued can feel unsettling. When you're used to working for love, unconditional care can feel suspicious. This is your nervous system reacting to the unfamiliar. Not because it's bad, but because it's unknown. The body resists change, even when the change is good. That's why many people unknowingly sabotage healthy relationships. Not because they don't want love, but because their system has only ever known love that hurts. If a kind, emotionally stable person enters your life, it might feel strange. You might overthink. You might pull away. You might convince yourself they're too nice or not exciting enough. This is the trap of trauma familiarity. Recognizing this can help you make new choices. Instead of chasing the thrill of unpredictability, you start choosing emotional safety. Instead of waiting for someone to pick you, you learn to pick yourself. Instead of replaying old wounds, you begin writing a new script. But none of this happens overnight. It takes time. And it starts with self-awareness. Start by reflecting on your past relationships. Not to blame yourself, but to learn. Ask, what were the patterns? How did I feel in the relationship? What needs of mine were not met? What red flags did I ignore, and why? Now look inward. What do I believe about love? What do I believe about myself in relationships? Do I trust myself to choose what's right for me? These questions can be uncomfortable, but they're necessary. Because the truth is, healing isn't about finding the right person. It's about becoming the version of yourself who no longer tolerates the wrong ones. Once you start doing this inner work, everything changes. You begin setting boundaries, not to push people away, but to protect your peace. You stop romanticizing potential and start valuing consistency. You let go of chasing and start attracting. You stop seeing love as a reward to be earned and start seeing it as a basic emotional need that you deserve to receive, freely and fully. And most of all, you stop settling. You stop shrinking yourself to fit into someone else's world. You stop dimming your light to make others feel comfortable. You stop confusing intensity with intimacy and drama with desire. Because you finally realize, You don't have to keep repeating the same story. You can outgrow the people and patterns that hurt you. You can evolve. You can choose differently. You can choose you. Let's talk about boundaries for a moment. Because they're not just about saying no to others, they're about saying yes to yourself. If you've been attracting the same harmful people, chances are your boundaries have been either too flexible or non-existent. Healthy boundaries sound like, I deserve consistency. I will not explain my worth. I don't chase. I choose. I can love you and still walk away if you hurt me. Boundaries are uncomfortable, especially if you've never used them. But they are the most direct way to shift the energy you attract. Because when you honor your limits, you teach others how to treat you. And more importantly, you teach yourself that you are worthy of care. Another crucial piece of the puzzle is emotional availability. If you keep attracting emotionally unavailable people, it's worth asking, am I fully emotionally available to myself? Do you avoid your own feelings by staying busy, distracted, or numb? Do you chase relationships to fill a void that only self-connection can heal? Do you settle for surface-level connections because true vulnerability feels too risky? You can only receive the depth of love that you are willing to give yourself. Emotional availability isn't just about being open to love, it's about being open to all of you. Your pain, your joy, your truth. When you stop abandoning yourself, you stop attracting those who do the same. Let's not forget this, we all have an inner child. A part of us that still carries wounds from long ago. That child is often the one choosing our partners, not the adult, rational part of us. So when you find yourself drawn to someone who feels like an old wound, pause. Ask yourself, is this attraction or is this familiarity? Am I trying to relive my past or rewrite it? Does this feel expansive or restrictive? Because your future doesn't have to look like your past. You are not stuck. You are not doomed. You are not unlovable. You are not broken. You are just repeating a pattern that once kept you safe, but now keeps you small. And you have the power to break free. When you begin to heal, the changes are subtle but powerful. You'll notice that the red flags you used to ignore now feel impossible to unsee. You won't be able to tolerate emotional inconsistency the way you once did. You'll stop over-explaining yourself, trying to convince someone to love you the way you need. You'll start choosing people who meet you with openness, honesty, and respect, not confusion and chaos. This is the work. Healing is not about blaming yourself for the pain you've been through. It's about taking responsibility for your future. It's about recognizing that while you can't control what happened to you, you can control what you continue to allow. It's about raising your standards, not to make love harder to access, but to ensure that what you allow into your life aligns with your growth, not your wounds. You may lose some people along the way. Not everyone will come with you as you evolve. And that's okay. Sometimes, healing means letting go of the people who felt like home, but were really just familiar pain. It means walking away from relationships that used to feel exciting, but were built on anxiety. It means grieving the version of you who tolerated less because they didn't know better. That grief is part of the process. You can mourn who you were and still celebrate who you're becoming. Because the truth is, you deserve love that feels safe, steady, and real. You deserve people who choose you fully, not conditionally. You deserve a life that reflects the healed version of you, not the hurting one. And when you begin living from that truth, your whole world changes. You'll find yourself less interested in chasing people and more invested in connecting deeply, with yourself first, and then with others who meet you there. You'll stop feeling like you need to earn love and begin to realize that love should never cost your peace, your voice, or your sense of self. And most of all, you'll understand this: you've always been worthy. It was never about being more lovable. It was about recognizing that the love you've been searching for starts with the way you love yourself. So here's what you can do next. Start journaling your patterns. Write out what keeps repeating in your relationships. Look for themes, emotions, and behaviors, both yours and theirs. Explore your core beliefs. Challenge the stories you've told yourself about love and worthiness. Where did those beliefs come from? Are they serving you? Are they even true? Learn to self-regulate. When you feel drawn to someone, pause. Ask yourself, am I grounded? Am I reacting from fear or alignment? The more you can self-soothe, the less you'll seek that comfort in people who can't provide it. Seek therapy or coaching. You don't have to untangle this alone. Professional support can help you unpack your experiences and rewire your patterns with intention. Redefine what you want. Stop basing your standards on what you've accepted before. Get clear on what love means to you now, from a healed place. Make a list of non-negotiables. Stick to them. You're not being picky. You're protecting your future. And when love does come into your life again, and it will, you'll be ready. Ready not just to receive it, but to hold it with the kind of grace and strength that only comes from doing the hard, beautiful work of self-healing. This isn't about perfection. You'll still make mistakes. You'll still feel pulled toward old habits from time to time. But you'll catch yourself quicker. You'll choose differently. You'll trust yourself more. Because you'll know, you are not the same person you once were. And from that place, you'll stop attracting the same people, not because the world changed, but because you did. The relationships you form going forward will be rooted in mutual respect, emotional presence, and deep alignment. Not survival, not fear, not history repeating itself. You will finally be free. Not just from the pain of the past, but from the need to repeat it. You will be walking toward love that honors you. Love that feels like peace. Love that starts and ends with you.